I have been asked countless times if I've ever used a Henderson trimmer, and I never had. In fact, I've never even seen one in person, but the longer I've been making videos, especially anytime it comes to trimming, I've always, gotten a few comments here or there. Hey, I own a Henderson, you should try one. Hey, I have a Gerode, what is a Henderson like? Or, hey, I'm trying to buy a trimmer, I know these are the top two on the market, which one should I get? I've never had a good answer because I've always used my Gerode. I've had that thing, I don't know, 5 years, something like that. And it's a fantastic unit, right? But I figured, what the heck? So I went ahead and ordered a Henderson. It is a little bit more expensive. I think these are in the mid 700s, something like that. But man, what a piece of machinery. You can really tell a lot of thought goes into it. It looks very easy to service if there ever was a problem, despite, just the awesome mechanics of it. But I thought I would go through and just kind of show you, what makes this different. Now, for those asking, yes, I will be doing a head-to-head comparison between this and the Gerode. I have them both. I'm very familiar with them, and I will be able to go through and show you guys just the pros and cons of both, how they work, and help you guys make an informed decision that fits your needs. I don't think there is a better unit between the two, especially after using this one for a little bit now. But I do think that there are some differences that may make one a better choice for you. And that's one of the things, before I get too far into it, the guy that makes these, Henderson is his last name, what a guy. I mean, the customer service is amazing. You can call, email, he'll answer any question. He doesn't know who I am, and, let's face it, I'm not really anybody important, but I called him up and just said, hey, I'm considering getting one of your units. I've been using a Gerode for 5 years. What makes it different? Why would I want to consider it? And instead of, being insulted or anything, he took the time to explain what made it different, and he took the time to explain what I may not like about it, having used a Gerode. So he wasn't afraid to say this may not be a unit for me. In the end, ultimately, I still wanted one, and I ordered it, and I'm actually really glad I did. But he's a great guy. He's a shooter at heart. He shoots a lot of, if I'm not mistaken, he's really big in the PRS world. So he obviously doesn't really have much in the F-class game, but huge in the PRS game. Sounds like, talking to him about his shooting, he travels quite a bit, and the guys that he works with shoot a lot too. So it's always great when you have a product that's made by people who are active in the sport. So let's talk about the Henderson itself. And let me just remove this tray here. The unit comes as you see it. I've obviously got it set down to my T-track. The only thing that's extra is this little brass collection box that you see here and acro bin holder. So that's a little bit extra, but I think it's totally worth it because it helps keep all the shavings contained and gives you a handy place to put your acro bin to hold it. Not everybody has, like I could just throw a bin down here on my drawer and it would be fine. But I really like having all the shavings contained. And so I think that's definitely worth doing as an add-on with the money. I can't remember how much they were, but I want to say like $50 or $60 for the whole kit. It comes with an acro bin and everything. Anyway, so the way this works is it uses a pilot system. And let me see, I don't think this will help you guys see it any better, but I'll take it off just in case there's glare. But down in here, you've got your cutting head. It does trim, chamfer, and deburr all at the same time. It uses a pilot system. The pilot measures right about 280. So you do have to make sure that after sizing, you expand your necks before you trim, chamfer, and deburr. Now that's different than what I'm used to. I typically have set my trimmer settings to sized brass neck diameter and then expanded as my last step. It's not a big deal, but again, Henderson was very open about saying, like, you've got to make sure that you expand your necks to at least like 281, 282, somewhere in there to really make it a smooth process. I happen to, I'm doing about 3,000, so I'm at like 281 and change after spring back, and the pilot fits great inside the necks, and you just get a little squeak once in a while, but it's not that big a deal and doesn't affect anything. So as far as setting it, and let me just move some of this brass out of the way so that I'm not pulling it out. So it uses a very simple, and to be honest, this is something where people are like, oh, this is dumb. I don't think it's dumb at all now that I've used it. I was a little cautiously optimistic, but this is the entire adjustment system. It's just like a 5/16 18 bolt or whatever this is, you know, just a cap head, and with a nylock on it. Now I can't move that nylock with my hand, so once it's set, it's set. He does send about 6 or 7 of these, all different lengths, so you can do a wide variety, you know, 28 nozzler, 6BR, whatever you want. But once these are set, that's it. Like, that's your entire setting. If you need to switch calibers, you know, you just pull that out, you change out your head, and you're good to go. You know, if you have different mouth diameters, if you have the same, you know, if they're all 7 mils and then you're using different lengths of cases for some reason, you just change this piece out. So really simple. And I like how this works. It took a few minutes to get used to, I'm not going to lie. It was weird. I wanted it to be more complicated than it really was. Now, I don't have my little Allen, so let me just grab this, yeah. So, I mean, really all it takes is just an Allen wrench on the back, and then you guys can condemn me for using a crescent wrench, but it's what I've got. And then you would just simply, you know, make little turns on this, and that's your adjustment. After playing with it for maybe 10 or 15 minutes, I got really good at making roughly 1 or 2 thousandths adjustments with this. And because it's not moving, once you kind of, you know, nudge it, you can put it in, test it, bring it right back out, nudge it again, and you're good to go. I did try making the adjustments inside the machine. It's a little more cumbersome. I wouldn't necessarily, especially once you get to kind of the fine detail, I wouldn't recommend it. What I would recommend is that you take this nylock and run it down pretty far. Start way out, you know, start bringing your brass in, screw this until you get, you know, pretty much to the blade, back it off a little bit. Then you can bring your nylock up and then start making fine adjustments. That seemed to work really well for me. Like I said, initially I thought, oh, you know, I'm going to make the adjustment while it's on here, and I would back it off and then try to get a wrench in there. It can be done. It's not that big a deal, but I definitely found it easier once I got to the point where I needed to make like a 1,000th adjustment or something, just to bring it out, do this, hit it with the wrench a bit, and then put it back in. The other thing to remember is that you're just strictly dealing with a very simple stop here. So you don't have to wrench this thing in. Don't, you know, hammer it down with a, you know, a pipe or, you know, a pipe on the end. Like, just all you have to do is just get it to where it stops, like stops snug. Boom, that's it. We're done. Speaking of the business end, let me show you what that looks like. I know the few videos that are out there, I didn't have a real clear understanding of how his collet and stop system worked. So I'm going to pull, I mean, the videos were good enough that it made me want to get one, but so here's what his collet system looks like. It's a tapered collet, okay, and it requires very little change. Now, I'm just going to show you real quick here. So I put a little mark at what would be pretty close to top dead center, and you can see the brass is held in place, and this is what we would do if we were moving it in and out to trim. And when we are done, all we have to do is make a slight turn from like 12 o'clock to not even 11, and the brass drops out. And that's important because I'm going to show you how this works in a second. But, you know, keep in mind, it takes very little turn, right? So very little turn to get this thing engaged. So I think that's really cool. Now this is your other side of the stop. So that is what's going to hit the bolt. So on the inside here, these are making contact. So when I show you it working, you'll hear it hitting, and I'll sort of exaggerate it so you can hear it. But this thing's so smooth, by the way, that I totally thought it had some kind of ball bearing in there, but it doesn't. It's just really well machined, and the anodizing just really adds to it. So super, super smooth. All right, so let's get these back on so it'll stop. These screws overhang just a hair, so it catches that. All right, let's put this away and that away. Okay, so we're gonna put this back on. Again, this is part of the shaving catch kit. I don't remember what it's called, something like that. All right, so fire it up. It's a very pleasant sounding motor. That's on high. You can actually come down a little bit if you need to, but so far I've liked it on high. I can listen to music. I was actually talking to my wife earlier while it was running. It's not high pitch or shrill or anything like that, so I really enjoy it. Operation is as easy as putting a bin underneath grabbing your piece of brass. You're going to pull this back. You're just going to give it just a little turn like we talked about. It's going to go on now. It can't go any further. That's it, right? And when you're done, you turn and it falls into your bucket. So I can be grabbing another piece of brass while I'm doing this one. Again, I'm exaggerating this so you can hear the stop, but as you're using it, you can very easily feel when it's done trimming. Okay, see, stop. Okay, so there's your stop, and that's it. So like that one was a little loose. I didn't catch it all the way. That's fine. Just go back in, open it up, go in, grab it, and you're good to go. But hear that stop? That's the two bolts, you know, meeting up so you can't go any further. The chamfer and deburr part of this, by the way, is just absolutely gorgeous. If you watched my recent Bramley tuner video, all those rounds in which I shot 49 rounds with an ES of 14 and an SD of 4.1, all chamfered, deburred, and trimmed on my Henderson. So the seating force as it goes in is a little hard to explain because it is so smooth. I'm going to be doing a comparison video, like I said. We're going to be putting the two head to head. I'm going to be using my amp press to show you the difference in seating force and consistency. I'm curious because I haven't done it yet, but I will just tell you that anecdotally, just on my zero press doing my seating, they are all just incredibly consistent feeling, and I think that has something to do with how the chamfer and deburr is working on this particular system. There's not much else to it. I really, have found it. It's not a heavy unit. If I pull it off my T-tracks here, it's just like that right there. I've got all the shavings still in there, so I could easily go set this aside. I don't have to clean it out right away, so that's great. It has no problem working, when it's anchored down on my T-track, and I don't even have these things, super down. It's just, really, really good in there. I don't really have too much else to say about it. What I will tell you, however, is that he did allude to the fact that this is the Gen 3. So he's done a couple different generations. This is the newest generation, and he does have plans at some point in the future here to actually offer a conversion so that you can do outside neck turning, inside neck turning, and a few other things, all with the same unit. So that's kind of exciting. I'm not a big guy for turning necks inside or out, but I would definitely give it a try with this unit to see how it worked. But the fact that it's ultimately going to be a modular unit that does more than one, it's not just a one-trick pony, I think that's really cool. I don't know what else he's got in mind for it. I know what he told me, which was inside outside neck, and there was something else, I can't remember what it was, but he said that there are a number of options that this thing could ultimately accommodate. So the way my brain works, I'm sure I'll try to figure out something else to do with it myself, because I just really like it. Form factor wise, yeah, it's pretty sexy. It's it's the same colors as my Primal Rights, which I don't care if everything's color coordinated, but it is kind of cool that it all matches up. And the way it's designed, even though it's a really nice all-in-one unit with nothing exposed, it's very, at least appears to be very simple to work on. He's got a lot of easily accessible screws, so if I needed to replace what appears to be a belt pulley, he's got a really thick belt pulley that goes under here. This unit can be easily removed. So everything looks like if it had to be serviced, it would be relatively simple, so I like that as well. Anyway, there is the Henderson trimmer. I've got maybe 100, 150 pieces at this point that I've trimmed on it, and I just got to tell you, I really, really like this thing. So that's that. I'm going to get working right now on a comparison video, which I'm sure is actually what you guys really want to see. So stay tuned for that. And as always, appreciate you guys being here. Have a good one.